going to begin modeling one of the little knobs on top of our audio board, which I'm then going to duplicate across each one of the columns themselves. So it's important that this one little knob be very finely detailed. It's going to turn into the master, if you will, of all the knobs on the board. So it's an important bit. So I'm starting with a two-dimensional disc here. I changed the number of sides to 12. And if you look at the scene from the top, it's I got one flat edge up here, and this is actually how it was created. I'll show you why that's important here in a minute. Let's go ahead and extrude it up and start establishing the proportions of this shape so that I then can begin duplicating some very important smaller details. Now I'm looking at the proportions of this. That's pretty good in there. Let's scale it down. Give it a small taper. Yeah, and I'm on the way. I think that's starting to look pretty good. Now I want to have, on mine, I want to have a whole series of little ribs that go around the outside of my little knob here. Now I know on the surface I probably could just like grab all of those parts in there, maybe run an extrude with keep faces together off, and now each one of these can be extruded individually. And that's cool, and that's a good place to go towards. I actually like that idea. If we hit the G key and refire the tool, this is actually not a bad place to begin. But what happens, and the problem that we create here, is when we subdivide it. Now we need to go in, and I want the base to be perfectly cylindrical, and I want these outside parts to be perfectly cubic, okay? And this is a great example of when it's probably best to have discontiguous islands inside the mesh. Because here's the problem that we're going to run into. In order for me to go in and make one of these cubic and the center post be cylindrical, I need to add a whole bunch of geometry in here that's going to mess with the inside of my piece. Let me show you specifically what I'm talking about here. If I go into Mesh Tools and do Insert Edge Loop, excuse me. I'm going to go and change my tool properties. We don't want 12. We want relative distance. There we go. Now I'm just going to go in and put a couple of these in here. Now if I was to keep doing that, and I'm doing this by hand just because I know it's going to be just faster for the time being, you can already start to see the problem that's popping up in the surface of the mesh. This interior junk is causing a lot of problems. In addition, having a whole series of edge loops tightly packed at these corners is going to cause some problems. Let me show you. Yeah, that's not so hot. Now, if we were to go in and add a couple edge loops this way, those are fine, right? Those are gonna subdivide quite nicely. But look, we're getting all this crazy pinching. Excuse me, hit the wrong key. Let's go back into smooth shade. There we go. And we're getting some crazy pinching, and the mesh is completely collapsing. This is just fundamentally not going to work. Okay, so let's go back in time. Hit undo here. A number of steps. Get rid of all those edge loops, and I'm also going to get rid of all those extrusions as well. Because those extrusions, having everything be on one piece is not going to work. However, I am going to select maybe that frontmost guy in polygon mode. Oh, I'm in the Insert Edge Loop tool still. I apologize, that one. And I'm going to extract that, okay? Actually, just to be safe, let's duplicate the model. And then on the duplicate, we'll extract it. That way, there we go. That way we're just really, really sure that we're not messing up with the base. So edit mesh, extract. Now it's on its own mesh, which is exactly what we want. So here's the, we're going to get rid of polysurface 7. Don't need that anymore. And then polysurface 3, let's delete the history, freeze the transform. I'm also going to take it out of that hierarchy and delete the group. So that's going to be the foundation for one of the ribs that I'm going to use for my little button, my little knob. Okay. With that done, I now can extrude it out and create the rib that I'm after. Okay, let's get this back into the mesh, the other mesh. I'm going to unhide it. There we go. Yeah, okay. So let's combine both of these objects once again because they're on different objects. Let's combine them. Delete the history, freeze the transforms, and there's the foundation for my little button. Okay. Now the reason I copied that polygon out in the front here is because I really wanted to make sure that the angle was the exact same as the taper. There we go. So it's still a discontiguous piece. It's floating out there by itself. But now I can go in with my Insert Edge Loop tool I can go in and add some interior geometry that way and that way. You can also grab the polygons on the top, extrude them in just a little bit of an offset. I'm not going to do the bottom because I'm trying to work through this quickly. But now I can subdivide, or I can begin to subdivide it. There we go. And control each one of them individually. Now I don't, and let's just do the other one real fast. Let's unsubdivide. Check this action out. This is going to be kind of fun. We can also just do a bevel on the entire shape. If you have the entire thing selected, yeah, there we go. That's looking good. Hit the Q key. Now we'll subdivide. Boom. Starting to look pretty good. Now, whenever we subdivide, we're going to lose a little bit of volume. So it's starting to get a little bit smaller, but that's okay. We can unsubdivide. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this in. I'm going to change my axis orientation to, let's see, component. Yep, that seems to be working just well. I'm just going to push it in ever so slightly, and that's totally allowed. Let's subdivide it now. Yep, that's working beautifully. Okay, I'm liking that very much so. I missed it a little bit. I still have a little bit of pushing in here that I need to do. But for the purposes of this model, I think this is working out just the way I want it to. Okay, so now I need a whole bunch of these. And this is where the duplication of this little rib comes in next.